Hello, welcome to a very hot studio. If you're new, my name's Emma, I'm an illustrator based in Sheffield and these are my daily-ish vlogs, and today I am having a quagmire day. I'm feeling really stagnant, I'm feeling really like I don't want to do any work and it's so hot. I don't think my brain wants to do any work. I find it really hard to get motivated when it's hot, especially because my studio is so warm. It's the hottest room in the house. You can't even open the window because warm air comes in. It's just unbearable. All I've got is a USB fan, which I'm gonna put on again, by the way, because I turned it off because of the noise, but you know, we can all put up with that, can't we? Yeah. But I'm trying to be kind to myself, because what other way is there? If I'm not kind to myself, I'm just going to end up feeling worse. So it seems to be the only option. There's things I want to do, but do I really want to do them in this heat? Do you ever get like this? I'm going round and round in circles, basically. I didn't make a video yesterday because yesterday was much the same, but at least I feel I can get in my studio today. It is 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock's like the earliest I can get in my studio, because any earlier the sun is just beaten into the window and it's just very, very hot, very unpleasant to be in here. You might say, Emma, take your work elsewhere in the house, but that would require me to clean the house and I don't want to. I cleaned my studio last week so I could come up and feel productive. I'm going to stick with that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't live in a pigsty. The house is all right, but there are bits, like the stuff. I've got a cat, for example, and it's not his fault. He has fur that sheds every day. So if I were working downstairs, I know that I would see those little dust bunnies, those little hair balls that are just being blown around the house in the breeze. And I would go and tidy that instead of doing some work. So that wouldn't be possible. But when I'm feeling like this, I actually try and pin down what work am I actually trying to do. And it's tricky, because when you work for yourself, you can have as little or as much work as you want. So I've got my small business called Embers and Ink. That is ticking along nicely by itself. I did a reorder the other day of some cards and stickers and stuff like that. That's done. That bit of work is done. I can't do any more on that until they arrive, and then I can sell stuff. Oh, actually, you know what I'm going to do? Because I've just thought of something else that needs doing, which is paying for a market stall place. I'm going to print out a note sheet, because over on my Patreon, this wasn't planned, this isn't a planned Patreon talk, but over on my Patreon every month I make printable to-do sheets and note sheets. And I always forget to use them myself. So I'm going to go and print one off quickly and I can show you what it is and we can fill it in together, because I feel like I need I need to actually start planning stuff. Because if I don't plan it and if I don't write it down, I don't know if you're like this, if I don't write it down, it's just floating around in my head, and because I don't have anything concrete to kind of see, to go, oh, it's just that's the thing that needs doing. My brain goes, you've got something that needs doing, and makes it a bigger and bigger deal until it feels insurmountable. So yes, a list is the first course of action. You'd think finding a pen in a studio wouldn't be hard. Right, so there are some things that are very easy to tick off. So the first thing I'm going to put on here is to pay my pitch fee for the September Nether Edge market. The next thing is I'm going to check my applications for the 100 rejections list. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I started doing what Katie Chappell, one of the Woodthorpe illustration people, suggested, and keeping track of things that I have applied for. Hang on. Oh, God. I'm probably going to have to print out another one of these. And when I get rejected, rather than getting fixated on the fact that I didn't succeed, tick it off a list and aim for 100 rejections. And the aim here isn't to apply to things that you are going to get rejected for. It's to increase, it's to reclaim the fear of your rejections. So hopefully it'll get you applying to things without that fear of not winning or not being the successful applicant. So I've got a couple of things that I haven't won there, which is a shame. I'm probably going to print this out again. And also, one thing that I need to do is work out what I haven't been successful in. So maybe I need to have some way here of writing down. So the way I do it, I circle it when I've applied for something and I tick it when I've been rejected. Maybe I need to start writing in the circle when the closing date for the thing is, like what it is, what the closing date is, because not everyone, or not every competition, not every job application will let you know if you haven't been successful. So you can just be like living your life, and not realising you haven't been successful in it. So you could have ticked it off on here. So I've kind of lost track a little bit. So I'll be getting on with that as well. I might print out a new one actually, and I'll put that on my list. So there are some things on my list like those that are easy to do, but then there are others which in themselves have their own note list. So my to-do sheet will include applying to, it's a small publisher called, I think it's called Tiny Tree or Tiny Seedling or something like that. And they've got some open submissions which are open until the 8th of August, and then they'll close until the next open again. So I think I'm going to try and apply, try and submit some of my children's book ideas to them before the deadline. So I'm going to do that. So apply to open submissions, Tiny Tree. But to do that, it's got its sublist, so I need to work out what their submissions guidelines are. Amend my stuff to fit the submissions guidelines. And then I need to submit it by 8th of August. I think it's the 8th of August. If you are also interested in the rejections list, like I say, it wasn't my idea, it's one I got from Katie Chappell, one of the Woodthorpe illustration people. If you're interested in this, or if you're interested in the to-do list, or if you're interested in finding out competitions and opportunities for illustrators, head along to my Patreon. So if you're interested in the competitions and opportunities, I post up anything that comes on my radar. I'm not affiliated with them, but anything that comes up on my Instagram, anything people send me, any things I'm interested in to do with publication and illustration, I put those up for free over on my Patreon, and you can access those by going into the collections tab at patreon.com/Emma Woodthorpe, that's me. So if you go to the collections tab at the top, there is a folder called competitions and opportunities, and you can go in there, you can access it for free. If you want to get updated, if you want to get a notification whenever I put new stuff up for free, you can follow me for free on Patreon. So I know people think Patreon is just for paid tiers and paid members. I do have paid tiers, but I also do a bunch of stuff for free. So if you follow me for free, you'll get notifications whenever I put free content up there, which includes the competitions and opportunities. And you can also find your very own printable for free in that competitions and opportunities tab. So if you go to patreon.com/Emma Woodthorpe, go to the collections tab and find the competitions and opportunities folder. It's in there. I'll link it in the video description as well. And like I say, if you follow me, you'll get notified. And if these to-do lists look like your cup of tea, they are a reward on my paid tiers, and my paid tiers start at £1. You can join for just 1 month if you want to, or you can keep your membership rolling over month after month, and you'll get not just to-do sheets, which are printable. I do one version every month with to-do at the top and one without to-do. With a different illustration on. So I do note sheets, I also do printable calendars, I also do, what else do I do? Oh, I do backgrounds for your tablets. This is one, which matches. You get those every month, and they're available on the £1 tier. Also on that tier though, you get sketchbook tours, but even better than that, you get access to a live drawing Zoom every month. So for the months that you're a member, on the £1 tier and above, you can access our live drawing Zooms. We've recently just done one on, what did we do it on? Frogs. We did it on frogs. So we were drawing amphibians and frogs. Amphibians are frogs and frogs are amphibians. But yeah, it was called an amphibians drawing session, but it was mainly frogs. But that was quite good. So even if you joined now, because if you joined now in, when you're going to see this, July or August, whatever it is, you won't obviously have access to the live that's happened in July because the live element has finished, but you have access to the recordings for as long as or whenever you're a member. So you can, like I say, you can join as a member for 1 month and then cancel your membership, that's fine. While you're a member on that 1 month, you'll have access to the recordings of all of the live drawing sessions that we've done, and that's a bunch on there now. I think lots, like 11, 12. Have we been doing it for a year now? I'm not sure. Anyway, there's a bunch on there, so go and check that out. You also get sketchbook tours as well, and you have access to all of the sketchbook tours going back to the beginning of when we started them, as well as you don't just get access to the month's printables that you've got, you can also access all of the printables going back to when we first started them, and I think it's about a year now. So yeah, so you can access all of those, and they're available for as long as or whenever you're a member. And I say that because if you decided that it's not in your budget to be on a paid tier for me this month, that's completely fine, I understand. I've made my Patreon tiers as low a price as possible because I know life is hitting everyone hard at the moment, and you know, everything's expensive. So I tried to keep it as low as possible to make it as accessible to as many people as possible. But I do know that not everyone will be able to afford the £1 a month, and it's completely fine if that's not a priority. You don't need to. If you did want to dip in and then decide it's not something that you can budget for next month, you can cancel your membership. But if you ever do dip back in, this is what I mean about them being available for as long as or whenever you're a member. If you do decide to dip back in, you can have access to all of the stuff that you've missed in your absence. So even though you won't have access to the invites to the live Zooms that you've missed in your absence, you'll be able to access the recordings of the live Zooms, and you'll be able to access all the sketchbook tours and all the printables and stuff like that. So anyway, that's that. It wasn't meant to be a Patreon advert, but you know, if I don't mention it, no one will know. And I'm quite proud of my Patreon. actually. I'm proud of the drawing zooms that we do. I really enjoy them. Really enjoy them. Anyway, so I'm going to start ticking off this list because it's already nearly 3:30. The first thing is to pay my pitch fee for the Nether Edge Market, which is a dead easy one to tick off. So let's do that. I do love ticking things off lists. That is the easy one. The next thing, I'm just going to very quickly go through and check the closing date of the things that I've applied for and sort this rejections list out. Okay, so I reprinted one because my first one was printed with bad printer ink colour. So let's get this sorted. That was so much easier than I thought as well. So I had the Shirley Hughes Award, which I sadly didn't win. The Picture Hooks competition thing, which I sadly didn't win. And the Walker Books, I've forgotten what it's called. The Picture This competition. Now there is one more day as I'm filming this, one more day for them to let me know if I've won. So I'll fill that in when it's done. But if you have a look, this is how I've filled it in this time. So I've circled it when I've applied to something and I'm writing down what the thing is. I didn't on these two write the closing date, but I've put there the month or the time that I should find out by. So if when I come to check my rejections list, if this is gone past the date and I haven't won, I can just tick it off. I think that's a much cleverer way of doing it. thing I've got going on at the moment, which I'm going to get involved in again, is the Good Ship Illustrations picture book course has started a new round of submissions. The submissions are closed now, but I applied a couple of years ago, I can't remember when, but you get lifetime access there. So I think because it started again, I'm going to dip in and do all of the tasks and watch all of the videos and soak in the knowledge again of that. And I'm going to do that once a week. I'm going to set something in my calendar once a week. So I'm going to write that on my to-do list first. And I think I'm going to do that every Monday. I'll have to see when the new course, the course content comes out. But I have lifetime access. I have access to all of the course content anyway. But I might do it every Monday. And I think it'll be good as a way of keeping me on track doing something throughout the summer. And I might feel a little bit less like I'm floating around, being blown around by the winds of fortune. So that's on my list. Later on today, I'm going to make a calendar printable for August. So once that's up, I'll write some things down. But until then, I'm going to put it in my phone calendar, just to remind me. If I don't have a reminder, a physical reminder, I do forget. So I am just going to put in a reminder today for every Monday to do. In fact, it's Tuesday today, so let's do it every Tuesday. Let's do some Good Ship illustration work. And that could be my Tuesday activity. Repeat every week. Alert on day of event. Add. Cool. I'm not going to do the other thing on my list, which is applying to the open submissions thing. I think that's going to take a little bit of thinking about, which I don't have the brain power for today, but it's on my to-do list. So when I do have the brain power, hopefully tomorrow, I'll be able to hit the ground running and know what I need to do, rather than spend an hour or two just like messing around, worrying that I'm not doing enough work. So I think that's been a good amount of work for me today. I'll probably remember something else later on. And if I do, I've got my to-do list to get on with it. So, yes. I think the thing with me is there's just so much potential for stuff that I could be doing. And because I work for myself, it's all on me. So if I don't do it, I feel a little bit like a loser. And if I do it, like, am I doing it right? Is this enough? Because you work for yourself, you've got no one to ask. So I don't know. I think doing the Good Ship illustration course again will maybe give me that kind of community that, especially in the summer, my brain really needs. In the cooler months, I'm a lot more self-motivated. In the hotter months, I need external structure. So I think this is a good plan for me. And even though it might seem like I've not done a lot today, I've literally printed out a to-do sheet. And yeah, that's about it actually. It's my brain feels less foggy now. Do you feel like this when you print out to-do sheets? So yeah, my brain feels less foggy. In fact, you know what I might do today? Hang on, let me move my fan. I've got a few books that I bought the other day, and I was doing this in one of the other videos, and I need to get back to doing it again. I've already read that one. So I've got a bunch of books, some that I bought the other day and some that I bought and never read. I'm going to go through actually, take my fan downstairs, get a nice cold drink, and I'm going to read these books. I'm going to get into my head how stories get started. I don't know if you watched this video when I was sitting on the sofa reading children's books, but sometimes, like, I know I can write stories. Stories are not my problem. It's condensing the stories. So I've got a background in literature and literature studies. I did it at university. I can compile a story. In fact, I'm walking around all the time, I'm thinking that would make a good story, this could happen and that could happen. But as you probably noticed from these videos, I waffle a lot. So in a children's book, you've got so much restriction. So you've got 32 pages, you've got to tell the story very quickly. There's very few words on each page, for example. And you've got to set the scene, you've got to tell the story, you've got to make it emotive, all in 32 pages with what, like 20 words on each page. And it's sometimes the most obvious things that you need to do which you overlook, and to me it's just reading children's books. So like I say, I can write stories, but I have trouble like cutting to the chase and getting started with this actual story, rather than, I don't know, you can tell from these videos I waffle a lot. And I think if I read more books regularly, read kids books, find out how they cut to the chase straight away, how do they get into the story without having to give 3 pages worth or a chapter and a half worth of background of this kid or this whatever that is, a raccoon or whatever. See how they get into it, and get my head practiced into thinking, when I'm walking around the house thinking of new stories, starting them concisely, just like these guys do. They must have done, because they've managed to get their story into a very, very restricted format. Hopefully doing this children's book course again will also remind me of all the stuff that I already know, but it goes out of my head as soon as it's hot. So yeah, that is something else that I'm going to do today. I'm going to get the calendar made for August. I'm going to read some kids' books, and I think that is a good foundation. Good foundation. I'm also reinstating this thing, which is a notebook that I got ages ago, and I plan to keep it with me. It's got like a bunch of ideas and things in. When I get ideas for stories, or sometimes like sentences pop into my head out of nowhere. In fact, I've got one that I wrote the other day, which I'm going to write in here. And rather than having them in lots of different notebooks all over the place, or sketchbooks, I'm going to try and write them all down together. There you go. So I'm going to keep that with me. Whenever I get an idea, if I'm walking around the house or going on a walk, going to the shops, wherever it is, as soon as an idea pops into my head, I'm going to put it in there. And then when I need ideas, I've got them all together. I can walk through, I can flick through, get an idea. In fact, there's a couple of book ideas there that I completely forgot about. Isn't it amazing? Right, so notes. I think basically what I'm working out today is that I need to spill my brain onto the page, otherwise it doesn't exist. So that's basically the moral of today's story, guys. So I'm going to leave this video here. I hope it hasn't been too boring doing my daily admin. If nothing else, it will hopefully make you feel less alone when you also feel rubbish at planning and having no idea about how to do things, forgetting that you already know how to do stuff, feeling overwhelmed by the smallest tasks. I do think getting a note sheet and writing it down, you don't need a super fancy printable one like I've got, but if you do want one, now you know where to get them. They're available on my Patreon, patreon.com/Emma Woodthorpe, on my £1 tier and above. But just get yourself a scrap of paper, write it down. As long as you look at it and you do it, I think, obviously it won't work for all brain types, but for me, getting it out of my brain and onto the paper makes it so much more manageable. Because up here is a mess. It's a mess, let me tell you. So, I'm going to go downstairs where it's slightly cooler, get a cold drink and get going with these things. And hopefully I'll catch you in the next video. But until then, bye.